Howdy, y'all. It's funny how I decided to not say howdy, y'all. I don't know where that came from, but it's fun. And my name's wich'Ma, channeling this project, the Love Academy, and sharing the weekly love dose, an opportunity to dive deep and explore love on a deeper level in our person, in our life, in our actualization. And so the message that's been coming through really strong for me these last few days is around communication. So let's talk about communication, love and communication. What do those two things have to do with each other, and how do we learn to communicate with one another in a really meaningful way so that we can really hear each other? A big part of communication that I'm remembering to learn and to practice is that what's the goal? When we communicate with other people, how often do we think about what the actual purpose is of why we're communicating? Is the reason that we're communicating to figure out what somebody else is experiencing? Is it to get off our chest what we're experiencing, to just release and vent in an extent? Or is it really to understand? If our goal isn't to be understood or to understand somebody else, and it's a good opportunity to reevaluate why we're communicating and where we're communicating from. You know, sometimes we're communicating from this place of pain and anger and frustration, when if we release all that and we get quiet and we're with ourselves and learn to figure out where that emotion is coming from, then we can really come from a place of love, come from a place of understanding within ourselves. So if I'm wanting to communicate with my partner about something that's challenging, if I release my pain and frustration about not being met or needing to be met in a certain way, then I can really communicate what my need is behind that. But if I don't, what ends up happening, I just vomit all of my pain, frustration, and anger, and listen to me stuff, right? I mean, I feel like I'm not alone in that. So releasing that is a goal to our communication. So to commune with one another, to really be able to experience what the other person is experiencing. We're so sort of traumatized in life that we call communication like debating or arguing, when really communicating is connecting, being able to see one's reality from the other's perspective, to release and let go and create something together in the unison of our experience. That is to be able to communicate. What an amazing experience that would be if we could get there. But so many things get in the way. Our observations of what's really happening. So we have this whole process where we think we know what's happening, and we interpret what we think is happening, and we decipher what we think is happening. But is that real? You have to ask yourself, is that real? Because the reality is that our unconscious mind is filtering so much stuff every single second that the probability that we're actually experiencing what is real, what's coming in through the five senses, the seeing, the hearing, the smelling, the tasting, the touching, is actually not. It's dampened by this huge operating system that's inside of our mind dictating our reality. And so our observations are actually being filtered through a perspective that's telling us what's happening. Wouldn't be a problem if that was helping us, but often these lenses, these perspectives, these judgments are not in our best interest, that are actually not in the best interest of the people that we are talking about or talking with. And so to really get into the moment, observe, what are you hearing? What are you smelling? What are you seeing? And speak to those observations is such a powerful way to communicate in a positive sense about joy and love and excitement, and to communicate about challenging things, because those are observable, touchable, evidential experiences. And so really tuning into that. And behind that observation of what's happening, being able to look at what your need is. What is happening what you're needing? What is happening that you're maybe not receiving in that point from whoever you're communicating with? And getting really clear. Maybe that means taking a break. I like breaks. I like to take a time out, at least, 5-minute time out, to just check in with myself when I'm getting really emotionally overwhelmed, and take some time to listen to myself and tune in to where I'm at. And so I just invite you to take time out whenever you need it. You don't need permission. You are the permission. You will give yourself the permission slip to take time, to take a few minutes, to calm down, to center, to remember what you need so that you can communicate from your intention of what your goal is to communicate. If we don't get quiet and figure out what we need, then what we end up doing is rambling and getting up in this like mess of emotion and experience. So I invite you to get clear on what your needs are, and then to also at that same time find that vulnerability to be willing to express what that need is, to be willing to express, maybe I need more space, maybe I need a hug, maybe I need some help taking out the garbage, whatever it is. Maybe I need my parking space back at work. I don't know, whatever it might be, but being willing to come to that place that actually requests what it is that you need is a big, courageous, vulnerable step to move forward to. And so being able to step into that place of vulnerability, how can you compassionately ask for what you need, is so important. And so moving in that direction of being honest with yourself about what it is that you need and would like, and then making that request, that is a communicative practice of being expressing. We're so much taught to suppress what we need or what we want or how we feel that we learn to just hold on to it instead of saying what we need. And for more all extent and purposes, that's not really an issue, right? To not express yourself, right? That's what we think. Well, it doesn't matter. It's not a big deal. We won't talk about it. But the reality is that seed is planted. And once that seed is planted, whether it's tended to or not, it will start to grow.